My wife, Jo Dell, everyone calls her Jody, decided spending the night with another man would be fun. She also thought I wouldn't mind. She may have been right about the night being fun, but she was dead wrong thinking I wouldn't mind. I sat at my desk, sipped my coffee, and smiled. I thought back to the morning with my wife. We met in high school and, for the most part, only dated each other. I say mostly because the few times we had what we called disagreements, we both dated other people, but we always came back to each other. We gave each other our virginity a month before prom. 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, her 18th was exactly 1 month before mine, we were married 9 months after graduation. She was my only sexual partner, and as far as I knew, I was hers. My cell phone rang. I glanced to see who it was. I give my business card to strangers all the time, so I get calls from numbers I don't know. I can't screen them the way I want to. I hate scam calls, the ones promising to fix your credit or, from the IRS, threatening to send the cops if you don't pay. I can tolerate honest calls, but con artists? I have no patience. This call was different. Jody's office number popped up on my screen. My first thought, why is she calling from her office phone and not her cell? I answered, "Hi, honey. This isn't your wife, Mr. Taylor." The voice was calm. "That's my name. Taylor John Richard Taylor III. People call me Trey. Jod works for an insurance company. I sell RVs and focus on high-end carriages. Neither of us graduated college, but we think we're doing okay. We live in a house owned by my mother and stepfather. No rent while we save for our own place. We like it. We're in no hurry." "This is Michael Hamilton," the caller said. "I work with your wife. I have information about her that I think you should know. Can you meet me this afternoon around noon?" "What kind of information?" I asked. "She's planning to spend the night with a man from our office," he said. I laughed it off at first. "She was fine the last time I saw her." "No, it's true," he insisted. "Her friend's name is Stan Morrison. They go to lunch almost every day. They talk openly. Tomorrow they're going to the Hilton. Dinner, live music, dancing. Then they plan to go up to a room and spend the night. She's shopping for clothes for their date right now. She believes you love her enough to let her have this experience since you're the only man she's ever been with." He told me more. He said he'd been married for 9 years and cheated on. The legal system had screwed him. His wife's lover lived in a house he paid for. His kids called the other man Daddy. He didn't want that for anyone else. He wanted to help. After he left, I was left thinking about my marriage and my future. If Michael was telling the truth, my marriage was over. It scared me how quickly I could imagine the destruction of everything I'd built, based on a short conversation with a stranger. I remembered my childhood. My father was an alcoholic and a womanizer. He had affairs and teased my mother about them. One day when I was 11, he took me to his girlfriend's house and left me there with her dog. I walked home alone. My mother refused to confront him for days. When she finally let him back, she punished me for snitching. That childhood taught me something. I would not put up with adultery. I could not. Call me a jerk. Call me cold. But I wasn't going to live through what my mother went through. Eventually, she found the strength to leave him, and our lives got better. She remarried and was happy. I decided I wouldn't accept infidelity, so I made a plan. First step, confirm it. I found a private investigator, paid him, and arranged surveillance. 2 hours later, the plan was in motion. That night, I walked in as usual. Jody hugged and kissed me like every other night. I tried to act normal. Maybe she was bluffing, maybe she'd change her mind. Maybe nothing would happen. But if I hinted I knew, she could deny it and put it off, and we'd live in doubt forever. I couldn't live with that. I cooked dinner. We ate like a couple pretending everything was fine. Acting normal was harder than I expected. At 11 p.m., I went upstairs to get ready for bed. Jody was already asleep. I showered, climbed into bed, but sleep didn't come. At 6 a.m., she was gone. I can count on one hand the times either of us left without a goodbye kiss. This was one of them. It was Friday. I called my boss, took the day off, and called the dealership's attorney. He referred me to a divorce lawyer, a woman who can't stand husbands who screw around with their wives. She told me to wait and confirm Michael's story. If Jody was as confident as Michael said, she had nothing to lose from a one-night affair. I told the lawyer I wouldn't tolerate it. If Jody went through with it tonight, I wanted everything ready. Back at the dealership, I tried to sell a 45-foot motorhome to a lovely retired couple, the Jacobsons. They were everything I wanted for myself and Jody. Easy, affectionate, full of life. I closed the sale, felt a pang of envy, and gave them a discount from my commission. They left smiling. At 5:30 p.m., I pulled into the garage. Jody's car was in its usual spot. The house smelled like nothing had been touched. I stayed calm. I placed the investigator's package on the mantel and sat in the chair. I waited. At 4:30, she came down dressed to kill, exactly the outfit Michael had described. She had an overnight bag. She looked gorgeous. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Wow, you look gorgeous. What's the occasion?" "One of the guys at work has been pushing me to go out with him." "I thought it would be fun," she said. "Since you're the only man I've ever been with, I thought I'd see what it's like to be with someone else. Dinner, dancing, then the night. I'll be back tomorrow around noon. It'll be like nothing happened." I felt the calm I'd manufactured collapse into a cold knot in my stomach. "You can't be serious. You're spending the night with another man?" "Of course I will," she said. "If you get in the car, you'll have nowhere to go back to." "You're really stupid," I told her. "Have a nice evening thinking about how much fun you're going to have." She kissed me on her way out. I didn't watch her leave. I turned off the recorder I'd hidden, packed a box of trash bags, and began removing every trace of her from the house. It took 2 hours. I emptied her closet, cleared her side of the bathroom, took jewelry, documents, family albums, school awards, even a little bronze statue from her grandfather. I stuffed it all in her car, rolled it out of the garage, and parked it on the street. I left the keys on the driver's seat. I tried to sleep. I couldn't. I drank coffee, watched TV, and felt like a zombie. By 11 a.m. the next day, I had new house keys from the locksmith and the investigator's video recordings. At 12:30 p.m., I was watching the tape when the doorbell rang. I opened the door. "Hey, sweetie, my key doesn't work." "Why is my car parked outside?" "Your key doesn't work because you don't live here anymore." "Your car is parked outside because I don't want it in my garage." I stood in the doorway and stopped her from coming in. "This is my house," she said. "Let me in." I slammed the door in her face. She pounded on the door. "I threatened to call the police." I slammed the door again. She was frantic. Then her sister Judy appeared at the door. She leaned on the bell until her hand hurt. I opened the door a crack. "Talk to me," she begged. "I thought you loved Jod. I can't believe you kicked her out over such a stupid disagreement." "Did she tell you the disagreement was about a walk last night?" I asked. "Did she tell you the guy she wanted to go out with wasn't me, but a man from work? Did she tell you they planned to have dinner, dance, and spend the night in a hotel room?" She started to speak, but I didn't wait. I had the tapes. I had the car. I had all her things. I had made a choice. And in that moment, with her sister at the threshold and the house suddenly hollow, I understood. Some arguments don't end with apologies. Some choices end marriages. She sat up and told Judy she was coming home tonight and would show me what she'd learned. As I played the audio tape I'd made the night before. Judy listened in silence. I had no idea what she would say. Neither did she. "So what are you going to do?" Judy asked. "Divorce her?" "Oh, no," I said. "Any chance of getting over it?" I shook my head. She tried to speak again, but I stopped her. "Look, Judy, I have no intention of forgiving or forgetting what she did. This marriage is over. Period." Judy nodded, thought for a couple of minutes, then shrugged and stood. I walked her to the door. She paused, looked at me, placed a hand on my cheek, and kissed my right cheek gently. "When this is over," she asked softly, "can we still be friends?" "Jod and I are going through a divorce," I said. "If she fights it, things will get complicated. By the time it's over, you probably won't like me. Any friendship we have will likely end." "I see," she said. "Well, that could be nice." She smiled, left, and the door closed softly behind her. From Saturday afternoon, my phone had been off more hours than on. Jod tried to call me a few times, then quit. I finally reached her father. He tried to convince me that because nothing physical had happened, it wasn't a big deal and we should move on. I explained my position, the same way I had explained it to Judy. When we finished talking, he sighed and accepted that divorce was inevitable. Monday morning, I called my attorney, detailed the weekend, and told her to serve Jod with a summons. She would be served by the end of the day, whether she was at work or at her sister's house. The day dragged by in a blur. Shortly after 4 p.m., my cell phone rang. Jod's office number flashed. I answered, "Trey Taylor. Good afternoon, Mr. Taylor. This is Michael Hamilton. I thought you might want to know. Your wife was served with a summons earlier today. After she read the papers, she fainted. An ambulance came and took her to the hospital. As she fainted, she dropped the papers. Stan Morrison picked them up and nearly fainted himself. If this were a comedy, the image might have been funny. It wasn't. It was another marriage falling apart. I felt no sympathy for either of them. My phone rang again. It was Judy. "Jody's been taken to the hospital," she said. "I thought you might want to know." "No," I answered bluntly. I'm not the least bit interested in her health. "You're really that cold-hearted, Trey?" she asked. "All my coldness is directly related to your sister," I told her. "I warned you things would go south. This is round one." The next few weeks went about as well as one could expect. Jod tried repeatedly to talk to me. I refused. Her parents tried. I refused them as well. My mother spent hours trying to comfort me, insisting there was something wrong. I kept telling her there wasn't. I only wanted things to be right. Michael Hamilton called almost every day. He was steady. He was the only one who knew what I knew about Stan Morrison. Jod came into the office, but mostly sat at her desk, meeting only with her lawyer. She and Morrison never spoke in front of anyone. I stalled. Our lawyers scheduled a meeting. 2 lawyers, Jod and me. It would be the first time I'd seen her since I'd kicked her out. She looked thinner, a little haggard. Judy was there. Jod's lawyer opened the meeting. "Mrs. Taylor categorically denies the alleged adultery," she said. "She asks that the divorce petition be dismissed. She will agree to counseling and wants to save the marriage." My attorney and I exchanged a look and smiled. "If there was no adultery," my lawyer said, "can Mrs. Taylor explain her actions that night?" Jod spoke calmly. "A gentleman friend picked me up. His name doesn't matter. Nothing terrible happened. We ordered champagne, had dinner. We were too drunk to dance. We went back to the room and passed out. I woke up, realized what I'd done, and insisted he take me home. I made a mistake. I love my husband. I want him to forgive me. I want children. I want to grow old together." Judy sat there, scrutinizing every word, nodding. My lawyer turned to me. I picked up the remote control and pressed play. A screen lowered. The video showed Jod approaching Stan Morrison's car in our driveway. He got out, opened her door, and they kissed. A long, heartfelt kiss. They got in and drove off. "Line number 1, I said quietly. The room sat straighter. Jod went pale. Judy stared at her sister. On Thursday, Michael had called me with a plan. My investigator had videotaped Jod's every move that Friday, starting with Morrison's arrival. From Hamilton's information, we knew the date location, the hotel, and even the room number. We recorded it all. My lawyer asked, "Was there any fondling or groping that evening?" "Absolutely not," Jod declared. I pressed play again. We watched them in the Hilton dining room. Morrison's hand rested on Jod's ass. Line number 2. Jod looked around the room. Her lawyer read papers furiously. Judy examined her nails. The video continued. They ordered champagne. They rushed to the elevator. It cost me $1,000 to get my investigator access to their suite. 4 minutes after they entered, Jod was entertaining him. Then suddenly she screamed and ran out of the room, followed by Judy. Jod's lawyer gathered her papers and hurried after them. The lawyer and I chatted a bit, then I went back to the dealership. Shortly before closing, Judy walked in and approached my booth. She sat. "You knew, didn't you?" she asked flatly. "Knew what?" "You already knew they were sleeping together when you came to the house that first Saturday. You watched the video before I arrived." "Yes," I said. "I did." "They were doing it, Judy. She's my wife, and she let herself do it." "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. "I hoped she'd admit it and agree to a divorce. I hoped to spare you and your family the truth." Silence. My phone buzzed. Michael Hamilton calling. "Mr. Taylor," he said, "your wife quit." "She didn't even clear her desk." "She left?" Judy asked. "Gone?" "Yes," I said. "She loaded a car and left. She asked me to tell your parents she was sorry." "Not just our parents," Judy said. "Everyone she disappointed." The weeks crawled. Jod couldn't be found. Her parents, Judy, and I exchanged calls with no results. I considered hiring an investigator to track her, but my attorney advised patience. I canceled credit cards and froze accounts. Records showed she hadn't touched what was left. If she stayed gone long enough, we could pursue desertion in the divorce. For now, we waited. Then Michael called again. "Remember my divorce?" He laughed. "My ex and her boyfriend stole from the company. Both are now in jail. Your wife confessed to theft and pleaded guilty. She'll get a light sentence. Her boyfriend faces a long stay." I laughed briefly hard. "Good, screw them," he continued. "I heard Morrison say, 'I miss you too, Jod.'" After that call, I checked his phone. The last outgoing call was to a Florida number. He gave me that number. I called Judy. "I think Jod is in Fort Lauderdale," she said. She gave me an address and confirmed she had told Jod the divorce papers were ready. I passed the information to my attorney. The papers were served. Judy and I decided to watch the tape Friday night at my place. She promised no revenge. "I'm not sleeping with my brother-in-law," she said firmly. A few days later, Michael called again. "Morrison quit. He's moving to Fort Lauderdale." He was amused by the chaos. I wasn't. I told Judy what I knew. She admitted she hadn't known how many times they had been together. "4 times, she said. "Twice here, twice there. And you were okay with her coming back to me after all that?" I asked. "She's my sister," Judy said quietly, and the call ended. Work helped. I spent time with a mechanic friend, a veteran who'd lost a leg and 2 fingers serving our country. We talked outside at the picnic table. He offered a dark solution. I shook my head. "No," I said. "Neither of them is worth jail. I just want her gone." I laughed. "Nah, living with myself is punishment enough." We talked some more until the loudspeaker cut through the office. "Trey, call line 4. "Trey, line 4. I went back to my cubicle. "Trey Taylor." "Trey, please don't hang up." I hung up and walked over to the receptionist. "I'm not taking any more calls today. I'm going home." When I turned onto my street, Judy's car was parked in front of my house. I pulled into the driveway and into the garage. The door closed before she reached it, so she went to the front and started knocking. Apparently, she still remembered my warning about ringing the bell. I entered the house through the garage and made my way to the kitchen. She kept knocking. I decided to open the door. "You're not welcome here, Trey." I closed the door in her face. I didn't slam it this time. I love Italian food, so I heated a frozen spaghetti and meatballs dinner and headed to my bedroom. By 10 p.m., I was asleep. The next morning, I showered, shaved, dressed, and went to work. Judy was waiting. She probably thought I wouldn't make a scene at the office. She was wrong. I tried to walk past her. She grabbed my arm. "Damn it, Trey, listen to me. You don't have anything to say that I want to hear. But I do have something to say to you. You let her come back to me knowing she was having fun with that low-down son of a over and over, and you didn't tell me. All 3 of you can rot in hell." It was a long time before I saw Judy again, but she talked to my mother sometimes, so the whole dealership eventually knew my situation. It was going to be a long day. I lingered at the dealership for a few hours, trying to figure out what to do next. I managed to get through the day and headed home. My mom called and invited me over for dinner. I went. Of course she made Italian. My stepdad and I enjoyed most of the evening, until my mother said, "I was talking to Judy today." "One more word about this family and I'll leave," I warned. "Listen to me," Mom said. "There's something you don't know." "I know everything I need to know," I answered. "No, Trey, Jod cheated, and you're divorcing her." "Good," she said. "That's a good thing. She cheated and you're divorcing her. But what are you going to do about the baby?" "Oh, Mom, you're not going to fall for that, are you?" I scoffed. "There's nothing to fall for," she said. "Trey, she's pregnant. I talked to her when she was here. I literally jumped up." "What, she told you? And you didn't tell me?" "She asked us not to," my mother said. "We thought you needed time to forgive her." "Forgive her? Have you lost your mind? Have you forgotten what it's like to live with a cheater?" My mother had been through hell with my father's infidelity. Now she was telling me cheating might be okay for my wife. I loved her, but her gullibility stunned me. I left the house, drove past my own driveway, and ended up at the dealership. I went inside and laid down on the couch in the employee lounge. I tried to slow my thoughts. It didn't work. I tossed and turned until almost 5 a.m. and finally slept. When I woke at 10:30, my boss found me and put a "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door. He told the staff not to bother me. When I finally moved, one of the salesmen said, "The boss wants to see you." I felt like crap. My back ached from the couch. I needed a shower, but I went to see the boss anyway. "Trey, you need time off," he said. "I have something for you. Remember the Jacobsons, the older couple who bought the blue motorhome? Last week they were in Vancouver. He had a heart attack. He'll be okay, but they want someone to bring the carriage back. They asked for you." "When can I fly out?" I asked. "Tomorrow." "Janie will find you a flight. Use the company card for expenses. The return will take about 4 days. Take 10 if you want. Just give Ben your pending deals." Sounds right up my alley. When I arrived in Vancouver, I went straight to the hospital. Mr. Jacobson had tubes and machines hooked up, but he and his wife were smiling. They wanted nothing more than to be near each other. For the first time in a long while, I smiled too. Mrs. Jacobson told me where the motorhome was. She said their 2 grandchildren were with them. The grandson had flown home, but the granddaughter, Darla, would travel back with me. Darla was about my age, the girl next door kind of pretty. She walked in with 2 small suitcases. We were introduced, but she barely acknowledged me and snorted at her grandmother. She was curt and sullen the whole time. "Darla's been driving our car," Mrs. Jacobson explained. "She'll tow it behind the carriage and bring it home with you." Darla protested, but Mrs. Jacobson waved her off. "No offense, Trey, but Darla doesn't want to come back with you. She thinks she needs to stay. By the way, your boss said you might need extra days. Consider driving through Yellowstone. We promised Darla we'd do that. Fine, I'll see what I can do." We headed to the RV park. Darla drove but grunted and moaned and refused to speak. I tried to make small talk. She ignored me and went inside the motorhome. She took the car keys and, when I asked for them, literally threw them at me. I had to dodge to avoid getting hit. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I asked, picking them up. She ignored me. I hitched the car to the back. After a short break, I set out. I thought a cold beer would be nice, so I put lawn chairs and a small table in a lower compartment, hoping to relax later. Darla slammed the fridge closed when I asked for a beer and stormed into the bedroom. That was it. To hell with the attitude. I'd get the coach home fast and spend as little time with her as possible. By 8 p.m., we crossed the border. The motorhome hummed, tanks full, we had 200 gallons of diesel, and the big engine wanted to run. We rolled through the night. By morning, we were in Burley, Idaho. I'd stopped twice the night before to make coffee and sandwiches. I was tired and sore. Darla sat in the passenger seat, staring ahead, and finally muttered, "I'm hungry. Is there anything to eat?" My fatigue evaporated. "I'm not your damn maid," I snapped, then pressed the gas pedal. She glared and went back to bed. I made a rest stop pit stop. When I came back, she'd opened the front door and was getting off the bus. "If you get off, you can't get back on. I'm leaving," I warned, then hooked the parking brake and prepared to go. She stormed back in, so I released the brake and we kept moving. By noon, my ass was killing me. 18-hour driving days will do that. I pulled into a lot, parked between 2 18-wheelers, and collapsed on the couch. I passed out for 5 hours. When I woke, Darla was driving and we were moving fast. I watched over her shoulder and realized she knew what she was doing. Her grandfather had taught her well. I made coffee and dozed again. I didn't see her go to the bathroom, eat, or drink. She must have done it while I slept. We rolled into a truck stop in Dumas, Texas, around 10 p.m. She made a sandwich, grabbed a soda, and disappeared into the bedroom. That was my cue to drive. After 2 chicken salad sandwiches and a thermos of coffee, I drove into Houston. I stopped once overnight for a leak, coffee, and Cheetos. At 8 in the morning, I pulled into the parking lot of the Houston dealership. My butt hurt, but at least Little Miss Attitude was gone. I used the customer restroom, then made coffee in the employee break room and answered messages. I was trying to catch up when I saw her walk in, Darla. I ducked into the staff area and hid for 10 minutes. The loudspeaker called me to the boss's office. I took my time. In the office, the boss grinned like a wolf. "Miss Jacobson is here to return your cell phone," he said. Apparently, I'd left it in their car back in Canada. He handed it over. I picked it up, ready to be rude, but Darla surprised me. "Trey," she said softly, I listened to some of your messages. You did a huge favor for my grandparents. I'm sorry for how I acted." She walked out. Her soft side looked real for a moment. I went to my stall and sat down. A heavy rumble outside interrupted me. 2 cars had been in an accident. A salesman ran in. "Trey, I think that silver car belonged to the lady who came to see you." I ran to the scene. It was her. Medics weren't there yet. Someone tried to stop the bleeding on Darla's scalp. Someone else was dealing. She looked up and actually smiled. "You always catch me at my best," she said. Then she passed out. The EMTs arrived quickly. They stabilized Darla and the passenger in the other car, loaded them into the ambulance, and left for the hospital. I heard one of them tell the police investigator which ER they were taking her to. I went back to work. 15 minutes later, I remembered the Jacobsons and called to let them know what happened. "Cuts, bruises, and maybe a broken arm," I told Mrs. Jacobson, but she seemed stable. "I think she'll be okay." I heard Mrs. Jacobson pass that along to her husband, and I heard his reply, cold and ugly. "A broken arm. Too bad it wasn't her neck." That might have knocked some humanity into her. After he'd said his piece, Mrs. Jacobson asked me to call Darla's parents. She gave me their number, and I called. Then I remembered my cell phone. 54 messages, half from my mother. The rest from Judy, potential clients, and one from Michael Hamilton. I called the clients and set up 4 appointments over the next few days. The rest I ignored. I left work at 5 and drove to the hospital. The ER was close to my house, but I wanted to be there. The information desk told me Darla was in room 646. When I walked in, she already had visitors. "Trey, I'd like you to meet my parents," she said weakly. Her mother stood and hugged me. "Darla won't stop talking about your trip," she said. "How could you stand 2 days with her in that little bus?" Her dad grumbled. "It's not a bus, Dad. It's an intercity coach," Mrs. Jacobson said. "A rather fancy one, but a bus nonetheless." Darla's father looked at me. "Thanks for calling." "Thank you for stopping by. She's fine," I lied. "Broken arm and stitches, but she'll be okay." I debated calling my mother. The negative side won. For about 3 weeks, my mother and Judy tried my phone over and over. I ignored them. Even my stepfather called. I talked to him, but I cut the conversation short when he tried to connect me to Mom. My attorney mailed the divorce papers to the address Judy had given me. Jod liked living with Morrison, apparently. Her signature was big, bold, and written in bright red marker. There was no mention of a pregnancy. In about 2 months, I would be a free man. I began to imagine staying single. The thought came with other, angrier thoughts. I'd been celibate for so long. Damn it. I showered, dressed, and sat for a minute before heading out for dinner. Just as I finished getting ready, the phone rang. "Trey Taylor?" I answered. "Hi, Trey. This is Doy Jacobson." She sounded cheerful. "How's the patient?" "He's doing fine," I said. "Better than fine. We're planning our next trip. He wants to go to Colorado." "That's great," she laughed. "I'm a little nervous about those mountain roads." "Tell him to use the Jake brake and not to push the speed limit," I replied. We chatted. Then she invited me to a barbecue at their place Friday at 6 to celebrate Robert's recovery. "Bring your wife," she said. We'd love to meet her. I realized I'd never really told the Jacobsons about my life. They didn't know I was getting divorced. "Thanks, Doy. I'd love to come." It turned out to be a good week. I normally celebrate selling 1 van a week. This week I sold 3. One was a used high-end coach formerly owned by a country music star. My commission was very good. Really, really good. I pulled up to the Jacobsons' estate at 6 sharp. Their property was impressive. The valet led me through the house to the backyard. About 50 people were already there. Doy found me, hugged me, and, in front of everyone, asked where my wife was. I explained I was getting a divorce. She held me at arm's length. "Your wife is an idiot," she declared, then put her arm around my waist and led me through the guests. "When you're ready," she whispered. "I know some nice young women who'd love to meet you." I nodded and hung back. I had no intention of staying long. I finished a brisket sandwich and a beer, then went to say goodbye. That's when I saw Darla, running away from some guy. She grabbed my hand like she'd known me forever. "Daddy, and now Darla," she laughed, and pulled me into the library. This house had a library. I thought, this guy is living in another world. Inside, a man was complaining about a behavior problem in public. I wanted to leave, but Darla flopped down and accused me of being disloyal. The only polite thing you've ever said to me was when you were lying in the street bleeding. How's the arm? I asked. It itches like hell under the cast, she said, fishing out a back scratcher with tiny plastic fingers. I'll be glad when this comes off, she asked shyly if I'd have dinner with her. Darla, I'm going through a divorce, I said. I don't need the added stress. I'll probably do something that makes you angry, she smiled. How about lunch? A few days later, during a Saturday morning, my mother came by. She surprised me. I thought it over. I agree with you. Faithfulness is on the no-compromise list. I'm sorry I suggested otherwise. I forgive you. We hugged. It helped. Monday, Michael Hamilton called. Stan Morrison asked for his job back. They said no. Shortly before noon, the Jacobsons' coach pulled into the dealership. I was with clients, so I couldn't greet them, but I watched. Later, I walked the buyers to their car, then rang the bus doorbell. Darla answered. Come in, she said. The coach smelled of lasagna. She handed me a glass of Chianti. We clinked and sipped. She nervously leaned against the stove, then smiled and said, I hope you're hungry. I made lasagna this morning. We ate, we talked. We finished a bottle of Chianti, and neither of us ruined the mood. I thanked her and headed to the door. Trey, she said. I stopped. She leaned over and kissed me, soft, gentle. We froze, looked at each other. Is dinner still off? She asked with a twinkle. How about tonight, 7? She gave me her address. We kissed again and again. It took me 10 minutes to leave. As I walked past the bus window, I saw 6 faces looking back, among them my boss. They scattered when I noticed. He opened the door for me and said, Have a good night. I was on my way to Darla's place when my phone rang. So you managed not to kill each other? Doy teased. Robert listened and joked about her lasagna. Later that night, Judy called. You should know, Jod kicked Stan out yesterday. Today he came back and beat her up. She's in the hospital. Her nose is broken. He kicked her. She's in intensive care. What about the baby? I asked. It was a lie, Judy said. She said she was pregnant to get you to take her back. She fooled my mom. She fooled us all. I'm sorry she got hurt, I said. But she stopped being my wife the day she got into his car. When she signed the divorce papers, she made it official. Whatever happens now is none of my business. Darla lived in a gated community. The guard laughed when I said I was visiting her. Good luck, he muttered as he let me through. Inside, Darla liked meat and potatoes. She ordered a medium-rare ribeye with blue cheese butter and a baked potato. I worried how she'd cut it with a cast on one arm. She managed. We laughed about the awkwardness. Our waiter suggested a doggy bag for leftovers. Back at her gate, the same security guard made a surprised face. I don't have many dates, I told Darla. I usually come home in a cab. We went inside. Gin and tonic? She asked. We sipped, barely speaking, then she moved closer and gave me a look. We started to get to know each other. Really get to know each other. At 9 the next morning, I called my boss and told him I wouldn't be in. Why? He asked. I'm still on my date, I said. He laughed. Thanks for covering. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.